Welcome to the Worry Free Financial Podcast. My name is Eric Ebers, and as always, my goal is to help make finances worry-free for you. I am actually switching up the format a little bit here as things in the economy are starting to be pretty much redundant week over week. So I'm going to be starting to say one thing that is applicable to most people right now that's going on in the economy, what people should do to that. Going over several big key topics, just a little one point tip in several different areas like money saving, real estate, insurance, investing, and then I'm going to go through a key topic every week. And so this week's key topic is my favorite types of investments. But before we go into that, I'm going to start sharing just some things that are going on right now, as well as some of those tips. And right now, I think the biggest thing is that whether we feel it or not yet, I think some people have seen it at the grocery stores, is inflation is on its way. Many experts are predicting by 2022, we could see costs of certain goods and services increase by as much as 50%. Depending on what that means exactly, that may be $1,000 per month for families, something around there. So it's a pretty significant increase in cost of groceries, other certain things. Healthcare probably will be a part of that as well. But just things that everybody should do now is, if you don't already have a budget, you need to start a budget. There is no reason not to have a budget. Everybody can do a budget. In fact, I'll even be in a future part of my teaching point of this podcast is I will actually walk through how to do a budget. But everybody can and should have a budget. Everybody should be starting to work on getting an emergency fund in place if you don't already have that. Making cuts to certain areas of your budget. Start investing in your future, whether that's by eliminating non-mortgage debt or by saving for retirement. You need to start doing that and thinking about how can we, if there's going to be inflation, how can we make adjustments to our budget to accommodate that. We're going to jump into our money saving tip. And my money saving tip for this week is to consider switching your cell phone plan. About 4 years ago, we switched our plan over from Verizon to Consumer Cellular, and we've saved a little over $110 a month by doing that shift. And over that 4-year period, that's $5,000 that we've saved just by making that simple switch. We haven't really felt any difference between the service we had with Verizon versus Consumer Cellular. There may be certain instances where maybe that doesn't make sense, but at least consider making that switch. It's a very easy, quick switch I think most people can make. Jumping into real estate, we actually are starting to see certain types of loans increase in cost based on people that are putting their current loans into forbearance, and lenders are raising the cost. And the biggest things I've seen is jumbo loans, which are loans that are greater than about $510,000, or refinances that with the intent of cashing out some of the equity in that. The rates aren't quite as good there, and they're costing a little bit more to get those rates. However, refinance rates, if you're just doing a straight conventional refinance, no cash out, you have a loan balance that is less than that $510,000. I believe the current rate, there's a program through one of our, I am a mortgage originator through Clear Choice Mortgage, and I'll have my information in there, my license information for you to look at. But I believe that if you're just trying to refinance a conventional loan below the $510,000 balance, which would include if you were to roll over the cost of the loan into your balance, so maybe you're thinking more like $490,000 or so. This is probably unprecedented rates, and rates you will never find again. This program is essentially guaranteeing 2.5 to 3% rates on a refinance. So if you fit into those categories and you're interested, please reach out to me at eric@ccm.loans. That's eric@ccm.loans. I will put that information in my comments and description of the video. If you would like to reach out, I believe that this is going to be a great opportunity for a lot of people to cut back on monthly cost by doing this refinance. Jumping into insurance, I know with now up to 35 million unemployment claims across the United States, there are a lot of people that have lost health insurance with that, and you need to get covered again. This is probably, if I were to say, an area that is the most foundational area to your financial plan. I think having health insurance is that. I've heard of several examples of people that had a unexpected medical emergency that they hadn't planned for, and it cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical bills. Some situations up to $1 million or more. And that is basically a recipe for bankruptcy. And so you need to have health insurance if you don't already. If you lost health insurance, see if you have a family member that maybe you can join onto their plan. This would qualify as a life-changing event if you lost your job. Another thing is to see if you qualify for Medicaid. By losing your job, you may qualify based on your income level. So see if that's another opportunity. And if not, then go to the actual marketplace and see if you qualify for a plan under the Affordable Care Act. If you lost your job, there's a good chance you'll qualify for at least some subsidies to be able to cover a part of your insurance premiums. But this is something I believe every single person needs to have, is health insurance. Even if you look back to really the original purpose of Obamacare was to get people insured, because there is such a large risk if you don't have insurance, and by offering people that maybe didn't have health insurance in the past a lower cost option, it made that a possibility. The next area I'm going to go into is just quickly talking about investing before I jump into my favorite types of investments, which is my key topic for this week. For investing, one of the things I think that's really applicable to at least a certain amount of people, mostly government jobs at this point, is if you are currently relying on a pension for your retirement, you need to start finding other ways to save for your retirement. You can't rely on a pension for your retirement. Many states are already struggling to pay out pensions, and to be completely honest, this may not be a option for you in retirement. Even the money that you've had contributing towards your pension over the last several years, you may never see anything of that. Some states are already saying that they're going to need a bailout, because if they're going to be able to carry these pensions on. The state of Illinois, for example, has I think it was about $300 billion of pension obligations that they currently are unable to fund. And so I know I'm here in the state of Washington, and I'm guessing most of the viewers are in the state of Washington, but I wouldn't be surprised if Washington is not far behind there. So my wife has a pension. I would love to be able to take advantage of that, but we are not fully depending on that pension. Now jumping into just my favorite types of investments. These are things that I think are, in a lot of cases, tax favorable, either offering you either tax favorable or offering you basically free money through these investment types. One thing that I think is in general, if the government is limiting certain investment types to certain income levels and then capping off, they're probably going to be pretty good investments in the long run. So let's just jump into these. I've kind of categorized these, and I'm going to start with just employer plans. I think this is going to be applicable to a very large group of people, is 401k match. A typical match might look something like this, a 50% match up to 3 to 6% of your salary. So if you made $100,000, 6% of your salary would be $3,000 that you would be getting for free. If you were to basically take advantage of that, invest that minimum of $3,000 or $6,000 to get that $3,000 for free. Over 20 years, that $3,000 for free could look like $150,000 after being invested, or after 30 years, as much as maybe $350,000 that you're getting for free without doing anything other than you're making investment choices of your own. So if you have a 401k match, I would strongly suggest taking advantage of at least up to the match amount. Another option that you see a lot of employers offering their employees is stock purchase programs. Many businesses are offering these that allow you to purchase your own company's stock at a 10 to 15% discount. So basically you're instantly having a stock gain of 10 to 15%, which is unheard of. You don't see that unless you just happen to pick the right companies and see those those investments quickly increasing in their value. But if this is an option, I would strongly consider moving into that direction with some of your investment. A health savings account, or you may have heard of it referred to as HSA. This is actually probably my very favorite investment type, and basically what it is it's, if you put money into this account, you have to have, one thing that's a requirement is you have to have a high deductible qualified health plan. And so if you can't afford the deductible on a high deductible health insurance plan, then this probably isn't for you. But if you can, then this is a great investment. You can invest if you're single, $3,500, as a family, up to $7,000 a year into this. Once you hit a balance of $2,000 in the account, you can actually start investing in it. It's not just a savings account. It becomes a health investment account, basically. The average health care cost for a couple 65 years or older is $387,000 for the remainder of their life. 20 years of investing in your HSA at the max amount of that $7,000 will get you to that $387,000. Just a little side note is that anything I'm talking about with getting returns on investment, this is requiring you to, in most cases, take advantage of investing in a diversified, well-diversified, moderately aggressive plan to be able to get 8% or so return on your investment. That's where I'm getting that calculation. And so if you're getting 3%, you're never going to hit that mark that I'm telling you. So that's a big part of that is to make sure you're choosing the right plans. Now moving on to some individual plans. My favorite type of individual plan is probably a Roth IRA. This is a situation where you pay tax now and you get tax-free earnings on your investments of up to $6,000 per year. You maybe have heard people argue that if you expect to make more in retirement now, then a Roth is ideal. More in retirement than you do now, then a Roth is ideal, because you're paying tax now versus later. And if you expect to make less money in retirement than you do now, then a traditional IRA is actually ideal because you're paying the tax later instead of now. But one major flaw that I believe in this thinking is that it assumes that taxes will stay the same now as they are in retirement. And my personal opinion is that tax will have to increase. No one knows exactly what taxes will look like in the future, but I believe it'll most likely be higher than it will today. From an economic standpoint, the only chance the United States has to balance its budget is to increase taxes significantly over the next few decades. So that's maybe 10% increase on average over the next couple of decades to be able to just be able to balance the budget of our current deficit. And with a Roth IRA, because your money grows tax-free, the younger you are, the better this option is for you. So don't just jump into this option if you don't have any idea. I'd be happy to sit down and help you evaluate whether this is a great choice for you. I can't give you specific opinions on, go into this investment or go into that investment, but I can give you general guidance on that. I just can't, because I am a CPA, not a financial advisor. Another great thing, this is more for kids, is in general for kids, is a 529 plan or an education savings account, which is basically a college investment. You have tax-free earnings on your college investments. It works very much like a Roth IRA would. With the education savings account, you have a limit of $2,000 per year. You definitely have more options than you do with a 529 plan. And if you invested $2,000 per year for 18 years into one of these plans, you should have close to $100,000 saved by only making about a $35,000 investment. So you're making $65,000 on the actual just earnings of that money. So this is a really good investment for trying to save for kids' college. A couple of my last favorite types of investments are, one is home ownership. Why not build equity instead of paying for rent? If you were to purchase a home and have a $300,000 loan on that home with a 30-year loan, that between the savings on rent and the value of your home after those 30 years, it should be worth about $1 million investment. The shorter the term loan, the more value. A 15-year loan is what I would typically recommend. You're going to save on that $300,000 loan, you're probably going to save close to $100,000 in interest over that period of time. And then the final area that I would say is a really key investment, and all of these are either things that I have done or want to do, this is one that I want to do, is to have a rental property at some point. Why not build equity while someone else pays your mortgage? Or basically, you may not see the results until you sell the home or the mortgage is paid off and you're getting a certain amount a month in rental with no mortgage. But this is a great investment. I think you're going to see the cost of homes increase over time by probably about 5 or 6%. And then at some point you may be charging several $1,000s for rent without having any expense other than insurance and property tax. And so this is a great way to earn money later in retirement, or at some point you sell the home and you can use the proceeds of that for funding some of your retirement. One thing to think about is, which I'll do a lesson just on taxes at some point here in the near future, but if you have a rental property and you sell that property, if you did not live in that property for at least 2 of the last 5 years prior to the sale, then you will pay taxes on the sale of that. And so that's just a tax planning strategy that you can take advantage of, but I will go into more detail on that at a future time. And then next week, I'm going to be sharing about health insurance and how to understand all the components of your policy options and why this is such a key part to your plan. I hope you've enjoyed this. I know the format's changed a little bit. I think this is the format I'd like to stick to going forward, so you can kind of expect a brief economic update, some key topics that I'd like to cover, and then one major topic that I'll dive in deep on. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you guys next week.